All right, I will kick things off. Thank you again for joining. My name is Jason Zukevich. I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at Flex, and we really want to thank you for joining us today. Since our announcement around Flex Staffing Plus earlier this year, we've just really been blown away by the reception it's received. We've had more than 300 people sign up for the early access list. We had over 400 people sign up for the demo today from more than 250 companies. It's been fun to look at, more than 14 countries, are represented here today. Most of the states here in the US. So we're really, really, thrilled by the reception that the Flex Staffing Plus has received to date. As far as the session today, I will be handing it off to Chris Stein, our CEO, who will give you some background on how Flex Staffing Plus came to be. We've got Branden Rosenlof on as well. He is our product lead that has helped really bring this to life, and he'll go through the demo for us, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A at the end. You'll see that the Q&A capabilities are on. If you have some questions along the way, please submit them, and we'll answer them as we can. So with that, I will hand it off to Chris to tell us a little bit of how we got to be here today.
Thanks, Jason, and thanks, Branden, for leading this off and taking us through the demo. Little introduction. I'm Chris Stein, founder and CEO of Flex Rental Solutions. Flex started back in 2010, and our primary focus was on the live event industry. We've got over 1,000 customers worldwide, and what our customers have relied on in the past and continue to focus on is our rental and inventory management. We've got really powerful tools for quoting and warehousing, best in the industry. After COVID started coming out of that phase, we had many Zoom calls with a lot of different customers, went and did visits also, and we wanted to see how they were doing, how the industry has changed, and if there are any new things that they were seeing or focusing on or struggling with. And one of the common conversation points was on staffing. We heard lots of conversations about how the ratio of freelance labor being staffed for their normal shows had increased quite a bit, and that it was becoming a very big burden and a bottleneck in their industry or in their operations. And so we took a lot of these early findings and made some notes and passed that off to Branden, our product manager. And he and his team continued to do research and put together a product plan and started to develop it. And we've been giving slight previews, but this is the first public viewing of the product. And we're really excited to take this and to continue on in this area to add it. As we said, our core product has been inventory and warehousing. And with this, we will continue to open up our core product a little bit more, but we will not leave what we have built our industry on. And so we're excited to continue to expand these offerings. And with that, I'll turn it over to Branden.
Before Branden jumps in, I'll just do a quick plug. Chris mentioned that, we heard from a lot of you, from a lot of our customers, that staffing was a pain point and potentially an opportunity to unlock growth. We've heard some similar things around payments, and we are conducting some research in how Flex might be able to play a role for you and your businesses in the payment space. If anyone is interested in participating in that research, I'd be happy to connect. We'll be sending out a thank you email later today that will allow you to get in touch on that front. So sorry to sneak that plug in. Branden,
Great.
It's all yours.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Chris. I'm really excited to be doing a webinar again. Some of you folks, I'm recognizing some names here. You probably used to attend some of my old webinars. I've been here at Flex for almost 10 years now. I've played a lot of different roles here. I used to write the user manual content, do videos, webinars, do on-site trainings. And a couple of years ago, I moved into the product manager role, where I've been doing stuff like this, recognizing needs from our customers and turning that into features and functionality that will benefit you guys. And Chris, I appreciate you acknowledging the team that has put the work that's gone into this. It's not just Chris and the Flex leadership recognizing a need, passing it on to me, and then it somehow magically appears. There's definitely a big team effort of developers, of product people, of QA people who are all part of this process and helping us to deliver this type of functionality that we're going to show you today. Our product team right now, it consists of myself, a product manager. We have product owners. We have a UX designer. We have a business analyst. We have a project manager. And then, of course, all of our developers and QA folks as well. I like to talk about that, and I like you to understand what kind of team we have, because Flex has put in a lot of investment into building that team so that we can continue to, of course, improve our product, but also just focus on, like what Chris said, what we do best. At our core, we're really an inventory management and quoting software, but there are a lot of these little bits and pieces of planning and executing your events that are part of your process, and we want to provide some value there as well. We're not going to shift our focus from what we do best. We have that big team to continue to build out our core product and focus on improving things there with our inventory management, with our quoting, but we also have opportunities to look at things like this and develop some additional functionality that will be useful for you as well. Like Chris said, we built this based on feedback from you. I always like to say that we didn't really look at our competition and just try to copy anything that they did. We approach this from the perspective of, we want to talk to our customers, we want to hear what your pain points are, and then we want to develop functionality around what those needs are. And the main things that we were hearing were things like, you're spending so much time outside of Flex to do your staffing and labor efforts. You're looking for better views of information outside of just a standard crew call element in your system. And then, of course, you're looking for just some improvements on already existing functionality. We've had some staffing features and functionality in Flex almost since the beginning, but that has never really been our core focus. So some of it has been a little bit lacking, and we've heard you, and we have improved our staffing functionality to what you're going to see today. One last thing that I'll say before we jump into an actual demo, or you'll see my screen and I'll walk through some of this functionality, is that our main focus here was kind of the labor coordinator persona. Now, we recognize that not all of you have that person at your company, and a lot of times the person who is coordinating labor is maybe just an account manager over the job, maybe it's an operations person, maybe in some of your cases it's a VP or president of the company, but we kind of just identified that persona, somebody who's trying to staff and coordinate labor for an event, what your needs are and how we can develop some functionality that will make your job easier. So I just wanted everyone to keep that in mind as we go through some of this functionality. That was the core persona that we were considering through this all. So let me share my screen. I have a demo Flex system open right now with a few quotes that we're going to be dealing with to show some of this functionality. Let me get my notes up so that I am going in the right direction here. Let's first just kind of talk about this idea of more efficient ways to really just initiate your staffing efforts. One thing that we've implemented as part of the StaffingPlus module is a new staffing dashboard. It's kind of similar to what some of you might be used to with the staffing assistant page, but we just wanted to build this in such a way that it's a little bit easier to navigate. It's easier to see jobs that you have, what needs to be staffed, what is already staffed, and give you a quick and easy way to launch your staffing efforts from this page. So right now, if I go to some of these quotes that I have, right now they are not confirmed, so I will confirm them, and they will start showing up on my staffing dashboard. Let's go back to my dashboard. Of course, I could adjust that date range to show whatever range I need to see. But now I see some of these jobs that require some staff needs. I see that a lot of these roles don't have assigned contacts yet. And so from here, I could just do a simple double click. And now I'm in my Staffing Assistant. And we're calling this, when you have the StaffingPlus module enabled, you'll see some of this new functionality that we'll jump into in just a minute. But we're calling this the Staffing Assistant Plus to kind of match the name of StaffingPlus, because there is some extra functionality here that is enhanced and will give you the opportunity to hopefully reduce some of the time in trying to staff these roles. So that's our staffing dashboard. This is kind of new functionality, new technology that we haven't really dealt with before in Flex. So we kind of just put in a basic, here's the information that we need, and then we're waiting for your feedback to tell us what else you want on here. There's a lot of different things that we can implement on this dashboard, and we definitely want to hear feedback of what you would like to see. But let's go back to one of our jobs and let's just start trying to staff some of these roles. As I launch my Staffing Assistant Plus, the first thing you're going to recognize is that you're just immediately seeing more information about the people who are eligible to be staffed for this role. So in a very real sense, the Staffing Assistant is going to work the same as it always has. You're going to have the people who you have said are eligible to do this role, at what level, and they will come up as you launch your Staffing Assistant. But now we just added some basic information about these contacts, like their email, their phone number, because we heard from a lot of you that, you know, you'll see these contacts, but then you'll have to go into a different app, or you'll have to close this down and open their contact entry just to get their phone number because you want to shoot them a quick call. So we just improved that by adding some of that information right here in the dashboard. And you'll also see this bill rate. I'm going to get to that in just a minute because I really want to focus on the other big pieces of functionality that are in the Staffing Assistant now, and those are our availability inquiries and our offers. So as with a lot of things in Flex, you can customize what you call these things. These are just kind of the stock names that we have provided here. Our intention was that an availability inquiry would kind of be like a mass email that you could send out just asking any of these contacts, are you available during the dates of the job? It's not necessarily a job offer. We're not expecting people to assume that they now have that job. We're just asking, are you available? We put this in here because we heard from a lot of you customers that just trying to find somebody who's even available, even before you get to the offer phase and trying to negotiate an offer, that could take you sometimes hours just making phone calls, emails, texts, etc., just trying to find somebody who says, yes, I'm actually available. So we wanted to find a way in which we could make that just a bit faster for you, so I could select whoever I'm interested in seeing whether or not they're available. And then I could click this button. It pops up an email template. And then, of course, just like everything in Flex, that's customizable. You can word this in however you want, put in the email token field types and things like that. But this one is essentially just saying, we're gearing up for an event. We just wanted to see if you're available during these dates. And I can send that out. And just FYI, this will not send and show everybody each other's emails. This will just send out a separate email to each person. So I'm going to do that. And any of you who I just sent that to, Flex employees, go ahead and open your email and respond to this because I want to show everybody what that looks like. I'm going to do it myself because now we've sent this email out to our freelancer, to the person that we want to potentially work this job. And I want you to see what that is going to look like from their perspective. So they're going to get an email from Flex StaffingPlus. It's going to have that same template. And then they can click to respond, and that brings them to a page where, again, shows the same information, same template, and they can say yes or no, I'm available. And they could also leave a note. Maybe they can say, I am available, but last day I need to be off by 5 or something like that. And now look what happens when I go back to Flex and I refresh. I'm seeing all of these responses now. So I don't even have to leave Flex, really. I could send those inquiries to a bunch of these contacts, and then as they start responding and I refresh, I could go back to another role and start staffing that one, go back to my original, and just start seeing when people respond and if they give a yes or a no. Now, that's probably not a realistic example where literally everybody that I've asked is saying yes, but let's pretend that we're living in an ideal world right now. Once I've gotten that response and people are telling me yes or no, then I know who is available and therefore can feel a little bit more confident in sending out an offer to these people. And again, this is controlled by an email template in your system. In fact, this is it's not a very impressive email template. So let's show you how we can improve that and where you can go to make that email template kind of your own and make it say what you want to say. It's in the same place that you're used to. If you've dealt with email templates before, you'll go to your main menu, projects, look at email templates. When you have the StaffingPlus module enabled in your system, you're going to see a new email template type. It's called a staffing email template. It essentially works the same way as any other email template, the main difference just being it will come from a standard email address. Just a quick note, the reason that we did this is that emails like this need to come from an address that has a domain that matches the link that's going to be inside the email, or else it's going to be very susceptible to be marked as spam. We found that in some of our early testing. If we just entered any email that we want, and yet the link that somebody's clicking to is going to be hosted on flexrentalsolutions.com, sometimes that mismatch of domains was sending those emails to spam. So we've hard-coded that coming from a flexrentalsolutions.com email. And the email template works just the same as what you're probably used to. You can come in here and say, and enter all of your various information. Maybe I want to put in load-in date. And I'll do the same thing that I'm used to when I'm modifying an email template. I can put in those brackets and then start searching for the various field types that I can put in here. Let's put in maybe the show date. Literally just hundreds of these values that you could use. We could put in the call time details again, just like we did previously on the other template. Let's go back to our role now and try to staff that and see how our offer template is now reflecting those changes. There we go. It's looking great. So just like with so many things in Flex, we offer you that flexibility to have it sound like you guys sound. It doesn't have to be restricted to the templates that we gave you. You can make it sound like yourself, put in your personal information, things like that, so that people know that that's coming from you and reflects the way that your company does business. So let's send out that offer. We're going to have a very similar experience now where that contact will get an email. There's that email template. They click the link to respond. And let's say that I just don't want to work this job. Go back to Flex. I see my no response. Okay, maybe let's go back and see who else was available. Chris Stein. He seems like a nice enough guy. Then Chris will get that email, he'll respond, and we'll see his response live right here in Flex. Now, while we're waiting for him to respond, assuming he's still listening, let's go look at how we can modify some of this in your settings. You'll see some new staffing settings, and this is where you can change the name of these things. You could choose a different email template if you want. Again, just so that you can call this what you want it to be called and not be restricted to the names that we have given you. So that's where you can come in and modify some of those settings to make it work the way that you work.
I have responded.
Thank you, Chris. We go back. There you go. He has responded. And from here, we'll kind of just pick up how we usually do things in Flex, where I can choose his name and just click OK to assign him to the crew call now. And that's kind of the flow that we would go through now. Instead of having to go outside of Flex, use some other system, manually email people, phone calls, etc., we were able to do all of that work just right here inside of Flex. And now Chris is assigned to that job, and I can go and start doing the same thing with the rest of my roles. Now, for the sake of time here, I'm not going to go through and staff all of these. I'm going to do kind of my shortcut and just update my staffing paperwork so that all of these roles will now show up on my crew call. Because the next thing that I want to demo has to do with once we have these roles on our crew call. This is probably going to be pretty familiar to some of you and maybe even kind of a big pain point. But notice I have these roles on here. I have a start and an end. Maybe this is going to look kind of familiar to some of you. If I have a 5-day job and I want to represent each day of that job and what the call times are going to be for that job, on my quote, I might do something like this. Come in here and say day 1, adjust the subtotal to only be for that day. And let's say it's just a standard load-in day or something, so it's an 8 to 5. And then all of the call times for these roles will update. Great. And then what you would do is take that, you will either copy the subtotal or use your copy function over here. Copy, paste. We're going to call this labor day 2. And again, I'm not going to walk through all of this for all 5 days, but some of you are probably looking at this and thinking, yep, we do this, and sometimes that is a total pain. We heard this from you too. We were hearing from a lot of you that we want to have the ability to set these daily call times, but creating these roles multiple times on a quote or on a crew call, I mean, for one thing, now we have to go in and staff each of those roles individually with the same person over and over again. And also for a lot of you, you were telling us our customers, they don't really care. They just want to see something like this. You're getting, an A1 engineer for 5 days, camera operator for 3 days, and they just want to see the total price. And then you take care of all of the call times and actual schedules behind the scenes. And your client doesn't really care. Now, granted, I know some of you, your clients will care, so you're probably still going to do something like this, and that's fine. But we wanted to provide a better way for if you do want to do some daily call times like this. Once you have these roles on a crew call, what you can do now is pop into that line. You can click Schedule Call Times. And we developed this cool new widget now that's going to show you all of the days that are associated with the general start and end of this line. So let's say, for example, that maybe I made a mistake and this is actually supposed to go to the 17th. Go back to our call times, and now we have the ability to add a daily shift for each of those days. So I can go to my day 1 and say this is just going to be a standard 8 to 5. My day 2 is going to be finishing load in and maybe some evening rehearsals, so it might go a little bit later. Day 3 is show day. We're going to get in a little bit earlier, etc., etc. Maybe day 4 is kind of an off day. We're not actually doing anything. Client's doing an offsite and we just don't have to be there. Cool. Day 5 is another show day, and I could just go through and schedule the actual daily times that this role, this person is supposed to work. And then this might just be kind of give them a little bit of a break, afternoon loadout, and that's that. None of this has been saved yet. We notice we have unsaved changes up here. So once I click save, those call times have now been scheduled and recorded successfully. So I can go back, open that, and we'll see those call times. And we've also developed a really cool new view on the crew call, the call times view, where that will show whatever call times I input for that contact, for that role. And so we can see all of those over here. So let's do that for a few more of these. Notice that I don't necessarily need a person to be assigned yet. So maybe I'm doing this and scheduling these call times beforehand because maybe that's some of the information that I would want my contact to know when I'm inviting them or offering them this role. So again, I won't do this for every role. I think you're getting the gist of it, but that is how we can now schedule actual daily call times for these roles and then see those in our view here. We're still working on a few pieces of functionality for this feature. Essentially, we want to put in a, I always mix up the name. We used to call them tokens in Flex 4, but the field types in our email templates. We want to put the field type into our email templates where we can actually see those specific call times that we've set, since that's a new feature that's not built into the call time details just yet. And then, of course, any reports or anything like that that we want to run to show all of the call times that we've set. Some things that we're still working on there, but the core of the feature is now here, and you can take advantage of that once you have the StaffingPlus module enabled in your system. And so that's the call times functionality. I'm really excited about that one. Really excited about both of the things I've showed you so far, just because I really think those are going to increase your ability to just, first of all, communicate with people all inside of Flex, and then be able to get a little bit more specific and detailed about some of these roles on the job without having to create multiple line items over and over on your quote or crew call like some of you might be used to. Really quick, let's jump back into something in the Staffing Assistant Plus that I mentioned earlier, this bill rate column. This was another thing that we heard from a lot of you, that when you are trying to decide who you want to assign to a job or make an offer to, this is information that you're interested in knowing, because maybe you're trying to fit within a budget. Maybe it's kind of like a smaller show. You don't necessarily need your top tier folks. So maybe there's somebody who has a little bit of a lower rate that you can be able to send on this job. The way that this column works, you're going to notice that there are some highlights here. So we've implemented some new functionality that you can find within the contact entry. Let's go open up mine, for example. So this isn't new. We still have the ability to say what skills this person has. But I wanted to show you that first, because now when you go over to your bill rates tab, you'll notice that any skill that is enabled for that contact, I can now go in and set a specific bill rate for that skill. So right now I'm set on none, so this is just my general bill rate. This is just, a lot of you have probably entered that for some of your contacts already. You'll still see that just like you're used to, but now I could come down here and say, well, generally that might be their bill rate, but when they're acting as an A1 audio engineer, they have this bill rate. If they're willing to be a camera operator, they have that bill rate. So I could set a separate bill rate for each of these roles, these skills that they are capable of doing. And then as we go back and look at our Staffing Assistant Plus, then we can see if they have a bill rate set for the skill that we're trying to staff, then it will show that. If they don't have a bill rate set for the skill that you're trying to staff, we'll see this highlight in yellow. And that disappeared, but it's telling us the default bill. This is showing the default bill rate because they have 0 entered for the specific skill that I'm trying to staff right now. So you still have some of that information, but we just wanted to highlight that to make sure you know this isn't necessarily their bill rate for this, but they do have something set. And of course, if they have nothing set in either the skill or as a general bill rate, then it will just show as a 0. This is permission restricted, of course. There is a permission in the system that exists already that you can view contact financial information. So if there are people who you want to be able to see the staffing assistant but don't want to be able to see this sensitive information, then you can make sure that that permission is off for them. But we wanted to make sure that we did that so that this isn't just visible to anybody who opens this pop-up. And so that's how the bill rates works. Again, if you want to set those, you just go to the bill rates tab of a contact and then choose which skill that you want to set that bill rate for. And you still have the ability to just set a default if that's what you want to operate with. And the last thing that I want to show that is part of the StaffingPlus module is the ability to, from a crew call, very quickly and easily create a PO or a labor PO, as is kind of the terminology that we tend to use in Flex. So let's say, and I'm just going to kind of shortcut through here real quick and just maybe assign a few folks to these roles. Didn't use the staffing assistant, but for the sake of time in this webinar, we'll just do it the quick way. All of our favorite Flex employees. Who else is in here? Roger. There we go. Hi, Roger. Now let's say that, we've gone through, we've assigned these folks, we've given them their daily call times. At some point, and we heard various, user flows here, at some point, a lot of our customers were looking to create a PO to send out to these contacts to essentially initiate the process of, well, we need a bill from you, and this is the amount that we're expecting that you're going to charge us based on hours worked and what your rate was. And they just want that paper trail of starting with that PO so that they can have that in the system. They can reference that as, this is what we calculated, what we intend on you charging us, so that when they send an invoice or however your process works, if these freelancers sending you, a bill or an invoice, then you kind of have that to match that paper trail. And a lot of y'all were either, enabling just labor POs as a child element on a crew call. And so you could come in here, enter them as a vendor, create that labor PO, and then go enter information there. So what we decided to do was to just eliminate that step and say, if I want to create a labor PO for any of these lines, we now have that option here on my menu. And it will automatically fill that vendor as the contact that was on that line. Or if I want to make things even quicker, I want to do this for everybody, we have the option to bulk create labor POs. The vendor field is empty in this case because that is going to create 6 different labor POs with 6 different vendors. That was inheriting information from the parent, just like we're kind of used to with inheritance logic inside of Flex. But now I have all these labor POs for my various folks. And right now we don't have it populating with any information because we were hearing a lot of different ways that y'all are going to fill in this labor PO. We want to get a little bit more feedback from some of you folks to see if there is a standard how we can populate a line item on this PO, but we didn't want to put too much of that work into creating something that might have only really been useful to a small percentage of our customers. So we're waiting on some of that feedback to see what would be the most useful to be auto-populated on these POs, and then we can start working on that and making sure that that happens for you. But for now, you at least have a much quicker way of just selecting multiple contacts and then going and creating in bulk these labor POs so that you can start that process. And that's the main, those things are the main pieces of functionality that are part of the StaffingPlus module right now. Just as Chris was mentioning, we're just constantly updating, changing, and finding ways to improve our product, and that is absolutely going to be the case with our StaffingPlus module. What I showed you right now is not the beginning and the end of it. We're not going to release that and say, good luck, we hope you like it. We're going to release it. We're going to listen to your feedback. We're going to continue to improve and increment on that. And we're going to create, we already have a really stellar product, I think, and we're going to just really turn it into a phenomenal product as we continue to hear your feedback, hear what you want in this functionality, and we'll continue to implement those things for you. We already have a list of things that we're looking at and considering as next pieces of functionality that we are going to be working on through next year after we initially release this. And we're working on those things as we speak. But as of now, these are the things that we thought would bring a lot of value to you now, that really spoke to some of those issues and concerns that we heard when we went through a bunch of our customer interviews. And we hope that you like what you see. I think I'm going to turn it over to Jason now really quick to maybe just talk about a few of the other logistical type things in terms of the release of the StaffingPlus module, and then I think we have a little bit of Q&A that they are going to facilitate as well. So thank you, everybody. I was glad to share this with you, and really glad to be with you again. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Branden. And yeah, a whole lot of Q&A. It's pouring in. We've got 54 questions. So again, it seems like there is a lot of interest, and we're really excited that everyone is so eager to know the details. Yeah, Branden did mention timing. So, we are still pinning down an exact date, but we will be launching Flex Staffing Plus in Q1 of next year. Many of you are probably already on the early access list. We'll be providing some early access later this month to individuals. As Branden mentioned, we're looking to get more feedback on kind of what is most valuable for you, so we can make sure that we're kind of bringing the product to meet your needs. So stay tuned for more there. We'll include the link to sign up for early access in the thank you email in case you haven't done that already. Starting to look at some of the questions. I'm giving Branden a little bit of time to recover here from his demo. But I think, Branden, the first question was kind of just around, as we started, are we showing tentative jobs or just the confirmed jobs?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Right now, we defaulted to similar functionality that our just regular staffing assistant page operates with, which only shows confirmed jobs. But I have heard this feedback already from some of our early beta testers that they are looking for the ability to maybe choose what type of statuses show on that staffing dashboard. So that's already something that we are looking at. Just kind of be a matter of putting in a button to choose what statuses might show up there. But for now, it's really about things that are in a conflict creating status. So a lot of you might have tentative status as a conflict creating status. Those would show. Confirmed is typically a conflict creating status, so those would show. Whereas inquiry, in most of your systems, I assume that is not a conflict creating status, so those ones would not show. But that's really good feedback, and I think if people are looking for the ability to see inquiry jobs on this, then we could certainly implement an option that would allow you to do that.
Great. And I know we've talked a little bit. There was numerous questions about, is this an email only capability? So I know we saw lots of people asking if there was a text or SMS option available, or an app option available. So I know, Branden, we've been thinking about that. Do you want to respond to that one?
Sure. One of the responses that I'll say is we really wanted to get the core functionality that was the most requested out in the hands of our customers as soon as possible. And so that's why we've developed this core feature set. Where we go with this, we will have developers in this product from here on out. I don't see an endpoint in this. This will be a major tool in what we deliver to our customers, and we'll continue to add feature upon feature upon feature. So many of these are not in version 1. Some of these are already scheduled to go into version 2 and continue on from there as we get feedback from our customers. So just want to mention that.
And a quick technical note on that as well, as far as text messaging. Like Chris said, we were really looking to just get the core functionality out as easily as we could, and we already deal with emails. We have that set up in our system, so that was easier for us to be able to implement that functionality via email. The challenge with text messaging is, since we would be doing this, I forget the technical term, app to text or something, essentially sending text messages from an application like Flex Rental Solutions. That turns into a whole can of worms of the people who are sending those text messages need to be verified to prevent spam and things like that. So we just have to really go through the process of figuring out all the steps to get ourselves verified, and not only us, but each one of you who would be sending text messages would have to be verified yourselves. So there's a whole lot of complications when it comes to sending text messages from an application, but it's something that we're actively looking at right now and figuring out what that user experience would be like. So it's definitely on the table as a consideration right now.
Great. There is a question around, to staff a crew member in Flex, do they need to be a Flex user? I think the answer is no, they do not there. In a similar vein as to things that may be further down the line for us, there was some questions around kind of payroll system integration and time tracking and payroll reporting. So, I
Let me
think,
speak really quickly to that first thing that you mentioned of do they have to have a username and a login to respond? We did interviews with both Flex customers and also freelance engineers that we knew. And one of the main concerns that they said is we do not want to have a specific username and password to respond to a system. One of the reasons why we went and did the email offer again is a lot of these freelance people were saying we're working on a job that people are sending inquiries for next week, next month, and things like that. And we aren't going to be answering texts and things like that. So that's one of the reasons why we started with email. That doesn't mean that's where we're going to end. But yes, for a lot of these people who you're sending out availability inquiries for, they may be getting availability inquiries from multiple companies. So yes, I believe, Branden, there is a way to change the subject line, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's just all controlled with your email template settings.
yeah, lots of questions there, I think, around, what you can do there. But yeah, I think we've shown that you can customize these emails to, match your specific needs and include, any of the details you may want to include. One question I've seen a few times, Branden, is around can you send an email not regarding one job, but several jobs at the same time?
At this point, no. We're kind of dealing with just a single role that we're trying to staff on a single job, and the information will be
Right.
focused around that. So that's some
Okay.
interesting comment, though. I'd love
But
to.
it is something we have had inquiries about, and we'll look at that in future versions.
Yeah, I think we've got lots of great feedback here. We're up to 93 questions, so we'll certainly be
Yeah,
going
so
through
similar
kind of
how we
all of
could
them.
send an email to multiple people, we'll probably have a select lines and send the same availability offer on the same call somewhere, something like that in the future.
I would
Right.
love, Jason, to review a bunch of these Q&A
Yeah.
questions. I'd love to put together a little digest that we could send out as a follow-up email to this
Apps.
webinar, since we're kind of at time now. But
Yeah.
I'm reviewing a lot of these questions, and for one thing, it's things that I've heard from some of you already, so it's already on our mind. So I'm glad to get a little bit of validation with some of these things, that more people are looking for that. And then some of these other things are things that, yeah, I haven't quite heard yet, and maybe we'll get our creative juices flowing to see if that's something that we can have as part of a future improvement to the Staffing Plus module. But I would absolutely love to review more of these
Yeah.
and answer some
But
of the bigger ones and get that communication out.
well, let's tackle two more today, and then we can let everyone go, and we'll find a way to get you answers on these kind of moving forward. So,
Okay. What do you
I
got?
think the one that I can answer. I've seen some questions about pricing. So we're still in the process of finalizing kind of the pricing. There will definitely be some improvements to the core product that come with this, but we're finalizing the pricing for this module. We really just want to be mindful. Our approach is always to make sure we're delivering, 10 times the value that you're paying for. So, as we have people using it, we're really understanding, kind of the impact and value that we're creating, and want to make sure that our pricing aligns to that. So we should have pricing, if not later this month, then first thing in the new year. With launch, there will certainly be an introductory offer, so everybody gets to experience it and see the value for themselves. And gets to experience what we're bringing to the table here. The last question I'll pick, Branden, it seems to be quite a bit of interest or questions just around calendars. Are there calendar views? Are there invites that can be generated? Can you do a PDF of kind of roles and calendars? So there's lots of questions around calendars.
Glad that came up. That has literally been one of the main topics that I have been starting to research and look into just this week even. I know there's a lot of requests for things like, if I have a contact calendar inside of Flex, I would love to see maybe some integration with their own Google or Microsoft calendar to show me busy or free times. I'd like to be able to, when I staff somebody, also send out a Google Calendar invite for that. Those are all things that we're absolutely looking at right now. I think, as Chris said, we're just trying to get as much of the initial value out the door here as our general release, and then a lot of these other things that we're hearing that people are looking for. That's kind of top of our list as next pieces that will be coming out soon. So I'll review some of those specific questions to see exactly what people are asking for, but it sounds like it's right in line with the things that I have been researching already and fully intend on having being one of our biggest priorities after initial launch.
Fantastic. All right, well, we will leave it there. We've got 106 questions that we'll be working our way through. We want to thank you all for joining us today, for your input and your energy around this. We'll be sending out a follow-up email later today with a recording of this, so you can watch it again or share it within your company. But yeah, thanks again. Look forward to that thank you email later today, and we'll start getting to work on answering some of these questions and be in touch in the weeks ahead. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good rest of your day and a good weekend.